This was probably the weirdest Warriors season of all time. I mean, they started off the season with no real expectations. No one even knew what kind of team this would be. And then all of a sudden, they jumped out to this 12-3 hot stretch at the beginning of the season. And then the media and everyone started to realize that maybe this team is a sleeping contender. Buddy Hield had replaced his shooting hand with the flamethrower, and he had an incredible stretch of games where he was just shooting the lights out, and he looked like the biggest steal for the Warriors ever. But shortly after that 12-3 start, pretty much everything just continued to go downhill. I mean, this team was bad. Like bad. They were essentially a collection of role guys surrounded around Steph Curry. They didn't have any sort of direction. Their defense was mid, and their offense was pretty horrible without Steph Curry on the floor. It was basically like looking at two separate teams with Curry on the floor and Curry off the floor. Andrew Wiggins was not 2022 Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga was still young, Podziemski is also still young. So your main guys that you're looking to really aren't able to do much. They had no real second scoring option, and the pecking order was just Steph Curry and whoever else just happens to be playing good that day. There was just no consistency, and the team looked horrible. They kept losing. But then every so often they would come out with a win over a team that they definitely shouldn't beat, and then you started to think, okay, maybe this team has a little something. For example, beating a team like the Timberwolves 3 out of 4 games, or beating the Thunder twice. Things like that gave Warriors fans a little bit of hope that maybe given the right matchup, the Warriors could actually do something. But that's really all it was. Hope. After months of really nothing going for the Warriors, and they're kind of in this middle ground where they're not the worst team in the world, but they're not good either. They're just floating around the middle with no real shot at winning anything meaningful. But then, the trade deadline came. It's obvious that Steph Curry is nearing the end of his career, and not by his play, I mean just by his age. He's 37 years old, and he's not getting any younger. So the time to maximize Steph Curry is right now, and the Warriors did just that. Well, they did whatever they could. They put all their chips on the table and got Jimmy Butler. It was an interesting trade at the time because, well, Jimmy had basically just drama queened his way out of Miami, and Warriors fans weren't quite sure if Jimmy Butler was the right fit, or if he would be pulling more of the same stuff in Golden State. We know who Jimmy Butler is, and we know what he can be, especially come postseason time. It was obvious the Warriors were lacking major star power outside of Steph Curry. They had no scoring option, and Jimmy Butler made a clear number 2. You know Steph Curry is the guy, and you know Jimmy Butler is the next guy. That's already a problem that the Warriors had solved, and I think based off of just that, you already knew they were going to be better than before. But I don't think anyone thought that Jimmy Butler would turn this entire Warriors team completely around. For one, Golden State always struggled with shooting free throws, maybe not necessarily the percentage rate, but the attempt rate. And Jimmy Butler solved that, turning them from one of the worst, basically the worst in the league, to the best in the league. He also turned their defense from a very average middle-of-the-pack defense into an elite one that's good enough to rank first in defensive rating in the league. And on the other side of the ball, he provided a second offensive scoring threat outside of Steph Curry, so other teams can't simply just shut down Steph and win the game. After that Jimmy trade, the Warriors looked like so much of a better team, and their record proved just that. And it wasn't even about just basketball. It felt like they had hope again, like they actually had a shot at winning something. With the addition of Jimmy Butler, the Warriors turned from a team that wasn't even in the play-in tournament into one that could definitely compete in the playoffs. It was clear as ever that the Western Conference was going to be extremely tough this year. I mean, you had so many teams that were very, very good, and many teams with real shots at winning a title. And Jimmy helped the Warriors get to a 7th seed and win their first play-in game to advance to the playoffs after a true Batman and Robin performance against the Grizzlies.
Butler with the move. Green, Curry, 3!
So they've done it. They gave Steph Curry a chance to compete for a title. They were in the playoffs and matched up against a very hungry, very young, and very athletic Houston Rockets team. But Golden State had two things going for them: more experience and Steph Curry.
He'll throw up a shot. Oh, goodness to Curry. Thompson comes out on Curry. Three. Pulls up. It's a Curry three. Ring it up.
The Warriors took Game 1 on the road, and they were heading into Game 2 with a lot of confidence. And just when everything seemed to be going in the right direction, it wasn't.
Let's keep an eye on him. That one. Oh, look out. Wow, Butler goes down hard.
Jimmy Butler got injured. The guy that helped change the entire direction of this Warriors team was now out. And you were looking at the series like the Houston Rockets may just have a real shot of taking out the Warriors in the first round. But then you remember that you have Steph Curry on your team, so it doesn't matter.
Steph on the cross, the three on the way, got it. 6 on the shot clock for three. Wet. It's wet.
The Warriors took a commanding 3-1 lead over the Houston Rockets, and then, of course, like in Warriors fashion, they blew it. But not entirely, because Buddy Hield had the game of his life in Game 7, and they advanced to the second round against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Golden State had Jimmy back, and everything started to look good again. Steph Curry came out firing in Game 1, and when you think everything is going good again, once again, it was not.
Well, Curry's hurt though, Coach. Something grabbed him.
Steph Curry suffers his first hamstring strain in his career, but the rest of the Warriors kept the fight going and took Game 1 in Minnesota. Not too long after this win, news would break out that Steph Curry most likely won't return until about Game 5 or Game 6. So the mission was clear for the rest of the Warriors. Win at least one game in the next 3 to give yourself a shot at winning the series. And we all know that did not happen. The Warriors literally couldn't win a single game without Steph, and because of that, a trip to Cancun was booked and the season was over. Even though it didn't end the way Steph and the Warriors would have liked, which was obviously a championship, I think the season overall still closed out with a positive. Golden State was honestly such a bad team before Jimmy Butler came, and even though their record was average and hovering around 500, the way the season was flowing felt almost pointless. They were technically still in a position to make the playoffs, but there was no feeling like they could really do some damage. And then to close the season, fans actually had that hopeful feeling again, and I think it was totally worth it.
Don't want to see us next year.